Moving through the process, so we have a busy day today. I am really excited for the topics that'll be on the calendar today. We have talked about using the surplus for literally almost a year and making sure it can go back to the taxpayers of Wisconsin. We all know this is not money that is to be spent expanding government. It's overpayments by the citizens of Wisconsin. And the plan that we have today is going to send the vast majority of that back through a series of separate bills, which we'll have our members talk about. But the first thing we're going to do is have Representative August talk about the calendar for today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Another great calendar here today in the State Assembly. We'll start the day with a couple of hometown heroes. Representatives Sinicki and Rodriguez each have a hometown hero. We also have the Farrow family with us today to honor the life and service of Margaret Farrow in the joint resolution that we'll be passing today. And then we'll get into the business of the day. We've got 6-7 hours of debate time total per bill. But as the Speaker said, the tax package is really the big stuff that we have on the calendar today. So to go through some of those, some of that is Representative Katzma, the Vice Chair of the JFC, who has been our lead member on most of the tax reform that we've been working on. Terry?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Terry Katzma from Sheboygan County. And the governor, when we did the budget, he ended up with significant partial vetoes that ended up with a tax cut for the average tax filer of $36, less than 1%. So what this bill will do, this is one of 4 bills that we have today, it's going to be a reduction in the second bracket. So if you're an individual or a married couple earning more than $28,000, your tax rate is going to go down from 5.3 to 4.4. So this is broad-based, this is middle class, this is an average of $454 per tax filer. So this would benefit 69% of all people who pay taxes. So another component of this tax bill is that it would change the withholding tables, and that would be effective on July 1st. So we all are aware of the increased cost of living, and this would provide an immediate tax cut to state taxpayers beginning July 1st. So with that, I'll turn it over to Representative Steffan.
I'll be speaking on the tax-free retirement legislation that's part of the package. Unfortunately, the state of Wisconsin is a net exporter of wealth. 30% of Wisconsin's entire wealth is held in people who are age 70 or older, and our tax policy is driving those individuals with their wealth to the other states that have a tax-free retirement environment. By doing so, our economy suffers significantly. 2/3 of our state economy is derived through consumer spending, and when those retirees make choices outside of Wisconsin, we lose the benefit from an economic perspective. The second issue is our retirees, grandmothers and grandfathers, are part of the glue of our society and community. They are the ones who volunteer at our community locations. They're the ones who are part of our after-school reading programs. They are the ones who make a difference every single day through their volunteerism. By driving them to other states through our tax policy, we are losing that mortar that holds our community together. Third, our retirees on fixed income are the ones who have been the most negatively impacted by the rising costs through inflation. They simply do not have the way to absorb the increased costs, 20% or more for food, fuel, and housing, when they are in an environment where the tax code is stacked against them. So by creating a tax-free retirement environment where all individuals with tax accounts from age 65 and on up to $150,000 for a joint filer, will have a great opportunity for a bright future staying here in Wisconsin. Now, the benefit to filers is incredible, perhaps the largest for any demographic in state history. The average filer who has a retirement account and using this and choosing this option will save $1,582. Absolutely historic. The state of Wisconsin did a great thing back in 2008 by making Social Security exempt from state income tax. And so I'm hoping today we're taking that step to make an additional large group of our citizens tax-free during retirement. Representative Binsfeld is next. Who was that? Representative Schott, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No problem. Well, I'm excited to be here to be talking about the married couple tax credit. As a new mom and having a young family, my husband and I are actually penalized by filing taxes together. So my bill just increases the existing married couple credit from the current maximum amount of $480 to a maximum credit of $870. And this is where it would be if we had adjusted the credit for inflation since it was first created in 2001. And it will save the average taxpayer $338. So I'm just excited to help working families and married couples with tax relief. And up next will be Representative Binsfeld.
Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. I am excited. I do feel, although I'm last, definitely hopefully not least. When we think about tax credits in general, I think we can all agree the hardworking families are a must. We must look at what is happening in their lives. And for many of them, as they look to their child care and their dependent care, it's an astronomical amount of money that they have to spend on it. So the bill that we are looking at today is to increase the ability for that tax relief to those families in the form of direct payment to the family. Overall, right now, if you have one child, you are allowed to take a tax credit up to $3,000. If you have 2 or more children, up to $6,000. What this bill does is it allows one child to be taken up to $10,000 and 2 or more children up to $20,000. It will align our state and our federal tax codes in which to help these hardworking families. I think we can all agree that if we truly look at this tax package as a whole, and we look at these young families that we are so trying to help, there are many benefits. Obviously, each one is being brought individually, but if you look at a family overall, many families are going to fall into the tax bracket change, providing that needed relief. Many of them are going to fall into the married couple tax relief. And for some, if we really think about those grandparents that Representative Stefan talked to, let's keep them here. Let's allow them to help the individuals raising their families. So together, our governor can put everything together as one and give true relief of taxes back to the hardworking families of Wisconsin. With that, I'll turn it back over to the speaker.
Happy to take any questions.
Speaker Voss, do you plan on taking up the maps if the Senate does pass them today or tomorrow, Thursday session?
Well, the members have done such an excellent job on taxes. We'll move to the next topic, I guess. So, yes, first of all, we have to see what happens with the Senate. You know, I think we obviously have maps that have passed constitutional muster at the U.S. Supreme Court and at the state Supreme Court. The maps that we have are the ones that should remain in place until the end of the decade. We now know the Supreme Court is taking up new maps, and the first directive they gave to us was to say the legislature should try to pass maps and go through the constitutional process. So I want to first see what happens with the state Senate, where hopefully they get the maps across the finish line. If they do, we will probably take up those maps today to be able to get them across the finish line. But again, I want to see if they can actually get through the state Senate. I know there were quite a few defections last week, so we'll see what actually occurs.
Do you, Speaker, have the votes to pass the governor's map with no changes?
I think so, but again, we have to wait and see what happens with the state Senate first. I think our members realize that we have been dealt a very difficult hand, and I have said from the very beginning that I think we can win under the maps that have been presented because we have better candidates, a better message, and the ability to have hardworking people explain across the state why having Republicans in charge of the legislature is best for Wisconsin. So I think if we get Governor Evers' maps, it's going to be more challenging. There's no doubt about that. They are clearly drawn in a way to help Democrats, but I still think we can win because we have a better message. So if we get the ability, I hope we can convince our caucus to be able to do that.
Mr. Speaker, do you also think that this is the best option for you versus trying to draw it out more in a legal battle? Did you actually see an opportunity? There was talk about going to the U.S. Supreme Court. So are you at this point now, with this deadline approaching, that this is your last best option?
Well, I would say we've never wanted to have to go to court. That has not been our first, second, or last option. We passed maps through the process last time. Democrats sued to try to overturn them. So they're the ones who turned to the courts. We think the maps currently are constitutional. We didn't go to court. The Democrats went to court to try to overturn them again. So Democrats have been the ones who have consistently used the court process. We prefer the legislative process and working through that. Look, would I have drawn the maps as Governor Evers has? Of course not. But do I think that we can find a way to stop millions of dollars of lawsuits, not have to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, and be able to have maps that we run on so candidates know this is what our district's going to look like, this is what it's going to actually be, and we begin the campaign talking about ideas and why our side is better for Wisconsin? I think that is a better answer than drawn-out court battles and going through millions of dollars of taxpayer expense when there's really no need to do so. So my hope is our Democratic colleagues will agree and that we unanimously adopt Governor Evers' maps. We then go and fight it out with the voters and see what happens in November.
Are you or any of your members planning on amending Evers maps once it comes from the Senate at all?
No. No, so once again, I still have to wait and see if it comes from the Senate. But yeah.
There's some talk that you passing the maps would potentially tee up a federal court challenge for Republicans. Is there any truth to that?
Well, luckily I subscribe to WisPolitics, and if you read the WisPolitics update, I think it was on Friday, they had a quote in there from one of the attorneys from Law Forward who basically said their entire argument is bogus. So, I mean, I think what they're saying is kind of a Hail Mary because they want to have a more aggressive Democrat gerrymander than the one we're potentially going to take up. I think that, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it sounds like the attorney from Law Forward is right. Once we pass the maps, more or less the lawsuits stop. There's no need for us to try to do an appeal to the Supreme Court because the legislature has adopted a map. It's been signed by the governor. There's no need for us to be able to go through this process to say that Janet Protasewicz is biased and we need a Caperton decision, right? Because she won't be deciding on the maps. So I think a lot of the things that we have for the potential to go to the U.S. Supreme Court and win on no longer are viable, which is why if the governor signs the map, I am supremely confident that that is the map that we will run on in November. Whether I like it or not, that's what we're going to deal with.
Have you talked to the governor about the tax plan? Is he going to sign what's on the floor today?
Well, I mean, I'll take that. We haven't talked to the governor specifically, but if you look at the veto messages that the governor continues to put out, we have put billions and billions of dollars of tax cuts on his desk over the last 6 years plus, specifically this session. He continues to say things like, oh, I want a middle-class tax cut, I want a middle-class tax cut. That's exactly what this package is. So I'm a little skeptical because he seems to only sign tax cuts when it's election time and he's not up this year. But hey, I'm an eternal optimist. I'm sure he'll see the value in these. It delivers a middle-class tax cut, and I'm fully confident that he can and should sign it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Get ready for an improved news experience. The all-new Channel 3000 News app is here. Tailored for your news the way you want it with a customizable home page. Stay informed effortlessly. Swipe through articles without returning to the home screen. And no more waiting. The new app loads faster than ever, ensuring you get news updates instantly. Download the all-new Channel 3000 News app today. Your gateway to news your way. Powered by News 3 Now.